Yo, guys, we are back. Hello there, Tom.
Hello. Yes,
Are you
I'm
alive?
here. I was just listening to the new music that you've chosen. It sounds like baby making music.
What? That's why you gotta love it. That's why you gotta love it. Everyone loves babies. Okay, a lot of people like babies. Not everyone.
Yes,
Not everyone actually likes babies. Do you find that? Does your significant other?
not particularly.
So
I don't either.
rude, bitch.
Well, a bit rude. Anyway,
So
go on.
so.
So let's cut the pauses out.
Anyway, how have you been? How have you been? Oh, let's not start doing this, shall we? Anyway, how have you been?
Yeah, good. Um, you know, normal, working, busy. Come home, do this with you.
Descriptive.
Busy.
Great,
Oh,
great.
you know,
I went to Liverpool for the first time today. For the second time in my life today. It was really
right.
fun. It's a great city.
Yeah,
Aside from the stabbings and the history in the 80s when.
and you can't understand them.
Yeah, actually, I did. I did kind of. I, when I was walking around, there were a lot of conversations which I just did not get. Um,
It was
it.
probably because they were talking about nicking your laces.
I don't get it. Uh, anyway, so you're 31.
Yes, mate, of course, I'm 31, definitely.
Who are you? Okay, I'm not even gonna try. So you're 31. Have you had your balls checked yet?
No, I haven't. I check them myself in the shower regularly. A little too regularly, actually, some people might say, but
Mate, pulling yourself off doesn't. It's not the same. It's not the
well,
same.
could be. It's healthy.
It's not.
Anyway, no, I haven't had my balls checked. Have you?
No, I haven't. I haven't. But there comes a time when obviously all men have to. Obviously, the girls are going through their uh, health checks, shall we say? Um, I think they start quite early on, don't they? They get
Uh,
they get pap smears and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I guess so.
Well, does Robin?
I've never asked her.
Good stuff. Anyway, so you two are close. That's good. But yeah, I think girls do. I think they start to get quite early, and they get that hugely, hugely scary and intimidating device that gets shoved up inside them to do whatever they need to do. But yeah. Anyway, so health wise, though, how are you feeling? You're 31. Are you at the height of your health age, health being?
Um, I would say unfortunately, I'm probably not. I'm probably a little bit fatter than I should be. Not horrendous, obviously. Um, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm morbidly obese or anything. I'm still quite fit, but not as fit as I could be.
Would you say you're fitter or worse than you when you were at university?
Um, when we went to university together, probably less. So
Well, what's changed? How come?
um, I think I think the fittest I ever was when I lived in Cornwall, and I used to surf a lot, and I used to row a lot. I used to run a lot as well. And then I moved to Devon, and there's no surf, and I just got lazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just laziness.
So in terms of do you do any sport or
Um, I do. I'm a co-steering guide. So, do you aware of what co-steering is?
when you help steer with someone else?
Well, sure. That's yeah. Backseat passenger to the max. Um, no, so basically, I go out with people and take them down to the sea, and go climbing and jumping and bouldering and all that sort of stuff. So that keeps me
Okay.
fit because that's pretty hard to do, to be fair. So yeah, I do that, and I try and play football when I can, and I do occasionally nip down to Cornwall and go for a little cheeky surf or snorkeling or whatever. Yourself?
Interesting. I have okay. I was fittest. I was definitely fittest about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago.
Right.
So why? That is a very good question. 6.5 years ago, I started into intermittent fasting and working out like an absolute beast.
Right.
So um, I was eating. Have you heard about intermittent fasting?
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what that is, I was eating about for the 6 hours of the day, and I was fasting for the remaining 18 hours. So 24 hours in a day, fasting for 18, eating for 6. And what I was trying to do is because I was trying to cut down my weight, I was eating about 1,800 calories, and it was the way that it was split was about 60% protein, about 20% fats, and 20% carbs.
Okay.
And I got to, I think now I'm about 88 kilos. I got to about 78 kilos. So I started to get definition, but then at the same time I was much bigger. And that was definitely the fittest I got. I sort of took up vaping. I stopped smoking as much, and I was cooking most of my foods. I mean, it was really. I started to see the benefits of doing that, and to be fair, once I started intermittent fasting, I got used to it. So now I do it most of the time. What really gets me off the rails is business lunches. So when I go out with a client for food, it's normally at lunchtime, and I normally, obviously, do not
Okay.
do not end up fasting.
So why did you stop?
Why did I stop? What fasting?
Yeah.
Because of work. I started going out more with clients. So when I first started doing that, I wasn't going out with clients at all. I was mostly in a junior position. So I was just doing the work, and I was coming in at 8, leaving at 5:30, going to the gym straight away, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But in Greece, while I was in Greece, I made a sort of a bet with myself and with the other lads that I would project 365. So in a year's time, I want to get to about 10%, 10% body fat.
Right.
I reckon I'm about 15% now.
Okay.
Yeah. So what about yourself? Any health goals? Any?
Just lose weight. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Detailed.
Well. All right.
How are you going to do that? Do you know?
Well, when I went to Greece as well, I didn't eat any bad food. I know everyone when they're on holiday tend to splurge and eat copious amounts and drink alcohol, etc. But I didn't. I stuck to a pretty good diet, the Mediterranean diet, you could call it.
Did you? Sorry to interrupt. Did you find that? I'm not sorry, really, but did you find that the Greeks, they don't eat that many carbs?
Yeah, they don't eat that many carbs. There wasn't many pasta dishes. Um, it,
That's Italian.
okay,
So
still carbs though, isn't it?
no, but
So,
like when most of their stuff is meze, right? So you have loads of salads,
yeah, salads and
um,
yeah,
and
fruit.
and meat and stuff like that. So I was actually, I think I lost weight while I was in Greece, even though I was drinking a lot. But I was a lad.
Woo.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I didn't. I didn't drink that much. we drank enough. I think there were about four of us. I think we drank two bottles of Grey Goose each night.
Oh, right, healthy.
Yeah, but that's 70 centiliters. 140 centiliters divided by 4 is what, 35 centiliters each.
Right.
So about just half a bottle each. But obviously mixed with Red Bull, which is really healthy for you. So light, Red Bull light though, so no sugars. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I remember the reason why I'm asking all of this. Um, what did you think of the general? What do you think of the general body type in Greece for guys and girls?
Um, I thought they're all pretty trim. I didn't see many obese people. They all had good complexions. No one was like too spotty or blemished.
No, but like in terms of there are what I found is actually there aren't that many big people there.
That is what I just said.
Well, you said spotty.
Yeah, well,
So
I was talking about in general, wasn't I? I said there wasn't too many obese people,
no, that's true. That's true.
and diet also affects your complexion. So
So
you know,
killing two birds, one stone.
done.
No, but the reason why I got onto this is because I remember there was a huge poster. I used to live next to Kennington Station.
Right.
So when I used to take the tube to work, there was a huge poster with a very good-looking woman with a great bod, and the poster said, "Are you beach body ready?" or something along those lines.
Yeah,
Do you remember this? There was a huge scandal about it.
I do remember.
And basically, what the company that was promoting that put that poster up, they were promoting protein, and I think like a protein. It was a program where you take protein, you exercise, and you take some fat burners, and you take some like energy boosters, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it got taken down. Do you remember why?
No, I don't remember why.
So it got taken down because some people complained that it was fat shaming people.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Um,
First
it's
of
a
all,
real tough one.
first of
Go
all,
on,
the
interrupt
fat
me
shaming
again.
part. Well, that's all right. First of all, the fat shaming part. Do you think it's well? If someone is fat, do you think they're being fat shamed?
No. I think they feel that way because um, they don't look like that, and they don't either they don't want to or they don't feel they need to look like that. And I think they take it a bit personal, to be honest. I'm fat and I don't feel fat shamed. If anything, I feel ashamed to be the way I am. I don't think it is particularly healthy to be fat. We were never designed as humans to be fat, so you know they don't
So
get my sympathy vote, to be honest.
no, okay. So what about people that say fat is beautiful or big is
I
beautiful?
just think it's bullshit. I think it just enables people to be unhealthy. We touched on this a little bit in a previous one where we talked about the NHS and some of the surgeries that they're taking off of their list and some of they're leaving on, so that you have to pay for or you don't have to pay for. And one of them they're leaving on is the what's it called?
The gastric bands,
That's
or
it, gastric band. Yeah, I mean they're leaving that on as a priority,
yeah.
and I really don't agree that it is because you're just putting, if you are fat and if you're fat and you want to be fat, all right, okay, fine, but don't be upset that the healthy female or male form is being advertised because that that is what a healthy human being looks like. Um, don't take it personally. People look like that, and people if people want to look like that, I think they should be applauded because it's hard work really to keep healthy and to keep in shape. It's
But
really fucking easy just to go and buy a load of fucking burgers every night and shove it down your throat. Not saying
and
that
do
that's what
nothing.
they all do, but
Yeah.
it's easy, isn't it? It's lazy, it's comfort food, and then people want this fast lifestyle, and everyone just gets pandered to nowadays. You know what I mean? You can't fucking say anything without someone getting offended. And if
But
I ever offend someone, I'm just like, oh, fuck off. Do you know what
but
I
you see,
mean?
this is a fairly new phenomenon because remember, like when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, people that were healthy and looked healthy and were muscly and they were revered. I'm not talking about like Arnold, necessarily Arnold muscly with obviously the guys who are using a lot of steroids and a lot of supplements, blah blah. But someone like if you look at the early photos of Sean Connery,
Yeah,
he was a very fit guy. Fit in terms of he had a bit of muscle on him. Remember the film, sort of turn of the '90s, beginning of the millennium, the Brad Pitt.
hmm
Um, and then there was the early 2000s were the what you call them, the 300 with the Trojans,
yeah.
not the Trojans, the Spartans.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, and and they were all really sort of
They were very defined, ripped.
yeah, yeah, the very
I
ripped guys.
mean, even Christian Bale, for
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Batman and stuff like that, and Tom, what's his name?
Holland.
No, the guy who plays Bane, English
Oh,
guy.
yeah, I know the guy you mean.
Yeah.
Oh God. Anyway,
Anyway,
him, yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're all, you never see someone being flaunted um, as apart from Fat Bastard in Austin Powers.
Yeah, but that's a comedy, is
If that's what I mean, though, do you know what I mean? The only, I just, it's difficult because you don't want to upset people, but if you're fat, you're fat. Okay, deal with it. And if you're not happy with it, then do something about it rather
but I
than,
see,
you know,
but you see, my issue with people who are big and proud is not the fact that they're big and proud. Fine, as you said, you can be fat if you choose to be fat. That's fine. Um, but it's when they campaign for fatness to be normalized.
yeah,
That's when I find it difficult because obviously then you have kids who look at them and say, okay, well that's normal. Like if you take it the other way, obviously not everyone can look like the guys from Sparta.
yeah. Not everyone's an Adonis, and we all have different.
No,
I mean, everyone's different, and everyone has different body types. And some people, they just naturally put fat on. I mean, that's fine. You know,
sure.
if you try and stay healthy, and your body's just susceptible to putting fat on, then this does not apply to you. Obviously, you can't walk around with a T-shirt saying "I'm not fat by choice," but I don't judge when I see people. Um,
I do.
no,
I do.
I don't automatically. I do with some cases. Like I was on holiday. I was at a resort in Greece, and it was quite a well-to-do resort. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Cristiano Ronaldo was there, sure. So it wasn't cheap, but there were families there, well-off families, and so there was just two contrasting sort of sets of people because some of the people, they really look after themselves and they're having like a grapefruit for breakfast and then going off for a run. And then there's the other families, and you can just see them wobbling 10 minutes after they've sat down. Um, and they got kids, and the kids are just as fat. And you're like, fuck me. Do you know what I mean? And they're sat next to the pool with a tablet or a phone. And you're like,
What, the kids?
yeah, the kids. And you're just like, come on, your kids are at a critical stage of growing right now. Why aren't you encouraging them to go to the kids club or something, or swim? They're just getting fat and they're eating chocolate and burgers by the pool.
So I've read an interesting statistic, right? Talking of things like exercise and dieting, etc.
Yeah.
Sorry, I heard an interesting statistic that if at the age of 20 your brain starts to atrophy,
Right.
so it starts to lose its mass,
Yeah.
basically, for those of you who don't know this. Um, and obviously that's worrying because I'm 31
Hmm.
going on to 32, so my brain's been atrophying for the last 11 years.
Yeah.
But one of the things that the doctor that was talking about this, one of the ways to slow down this process is, guess,
Go on.
you have to exercise. Aerobic exercise or weightlifting also helps,
Hmm.
but exercise is the main way to prevent exercising in a physical and also in a mental way. So doing Sudokus, challenging yourself, and not just doing something that you can do easily,
Of course.
but challenging yourself, which is why partly there are big supporters of video games in the neurological community.
Yeah.
Neurologists quite like video games because it challenges you and your brain to work and to
Yeah.
figure things out
Yeah.
and constantly stimulates you. So, but yeah, the best way that they said is to exercise. Now, my issue with people that promote fatness as a normal thing
Hmm.
is that with that fatness comes a certain lifestyle, which is a lot of people who are fat. Not everyone, because you get big rugby players, but they are probably fitter than I am,
Yeah.
and both of us put together. Um, but it promotes a certain lifestyle, which is lack of exercise and a bad diet. And normally that leads to a lot of issues. You're seeing people now who are under the age of 30 on mobility scooters.
Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Now, if you're diabetic or if you've got a severe or if you've got any kind of physical disability, fair enough. But if you're on that scooter because you just got fat, I don't get that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a colossal waste of money because it costs nothing to go for a run.
Yeah. Well, it costs a pair of shoes. That's about it.
No, but they already have Nikes on or whatever. And I do wonder whether that's to do with education. Am I being classist by saying that all people should be running? Because if you look at the the wealth gap and the health gap, I think you'll find that there's a huge correlation between people who have above average income who are healthy and below average income who are unhealthy.
Okay.
And I wonder, what is that? Do you think that that is actually a thing, or is that something that's just?
I think it's just a bit of a coincidental statistic. Um, you know, I think, I don't want to generalize here, but I think people who are on the lower spectrum of the wage, they're probably possibly not as highly educated, and so they may not understand the significance of saturated and non-saturated fats, you know, but or they may not even be able to afford the good foods. But I think that excuse only extends so far, because healthy food is out there and it's cheap and readily available. It's easy to do. Um,
But I do find that eating healthy, so eating all the grains, eating all the veg, eating all the meats
yeah,
and the fats, is actually quite expensive. You touched on a very interesting point and a good point that a lot of the times the healthy foods become a fad. So things like suddenly avocados were ridiculously healthy
yeah, or
and
quinoa.
they were used, or quinoa, and they were used everywhere. But it's actually more expensive than buying a kilo of pasta
Yeah, but
or buying a burger.
you can buy brown pasta, and it's the same as buying brown and white bread. You know,
No, but it's still more expensive. The brown pasta is still more
well,
expensive, isn't it?
marginally, depending on where you shop. And even so, it costs you even less money to not buy the chocolate bars.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of. I think it's a slight cop out to say that big is beautiful. I think if you are active and you eat well, you're not going to be fat,
Yeah,
right? I'm inactive because I'm at my desk most of the time. I go out to sites with my job, to construction sites, and I inspect them. So I get a bit of exercise, but not enough. So I have to supplement that by going to the gym or playing a sport. So, but I'm still consuming more calories than I'm burning,
yeah,
and that's the easy science behind fatness, isn't it?
of
Is
course.
it's
If you eat more calories than you burn off, you put on weight.
exactly.
Easy.
I mean, do you remember Ricky Gervais had a very funny sketch about a woman who was so fat that, and she was fat because she ate
Yeah, I do
13.
no 10 pie and chips a day.
Yeah,
How do I lose weight? 9 pie and chips a day?
exactly. Walk to the shop, you can't. So,
Yeah.
but he's he's been slammed for that. He's been slammed and been called as a fat shamer.
It just says it as it is, though, and I'm a big fan of Ricky Gervais, and I agree entirely with what he says on the subject. Because I don't know if you've ever followed his social media streams, but he fat shames himself. He knows he's got fat, so he says, call me a cunt, and
Wow,
help me.
wow.
Yeah, bollocks. So, if people can't handle that word, then hang up. Um, But do you know what I mean? He fat shames himself, and he, I think he's absolutely spot on with what he says. Do you know what I mean? If you're that fat, you're eating 8 or 9 pie and chips a day, and you're not going out, you're not walking, you're on a mobility scooter, and all your food is a fucking takeaway. Then, you know, it's your own fucking fault, and you're going to get diabetes. And why should you be supported by the NHS? To have a gastric band and to have a triple bypass heart surgery. Why should my tax money pay for that? Because I don't give a fuck personally.
No, and I think a lot of the times what you get is people don't really appreciate that not only are they doing bad for themselves, but also for other people through the
Yeah.
NHS. Obviously, when you get admitted for a triple bypass because of unhealthy weight, you take up bed space, you take up doctor time, you take up nursing time, you take up medicine time,
Well, I mean,
surgery
if you get
time.
admit, I watched a documentary about intensive care unit the other day, and care for critical care it can cost 2 grand a day to take up a critical bed. And if you're in one of these in ICU as a result of just a poor lifestyle, so smoking or drinking, um, and eating saturated fats and horrible, shite numbers everywhere, and you're taking up one of these, and you're taking up a bed that's worth 2 grand a day, but someone who's lived a healthy life has just come down with a brain tumor or something and they need that bed, but you're taking it up with your fucking gelatinous weight. It's not fair.
No, no. I mean, there's obviously degrees of fatness, right? Well, we're talking about people that are obese.
Morbidly obese,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Obviously, there are some people that carry extra weight. Fair enough. Um, smokers do the same thing, but the issue with smokers is that they are taxed so much that actually the revenues from the taxing can support their um, their healthcare.
Right. That's not a means to
So
an end, though, is it?
no. But what I'm saying is, at least there's some way of there's some repaying from the smoking community because they get taxed so much. The issue with unhealthy foods
But
such as
but think
fast
of
foods and
think of how
burgers.
much better that money could get utilised instead of essentially going back and paying for their treatment for cancer or having a lung removed.
Yeah, absolutely. But then without the smoking tax, you won't be able to have the smoking revenue.
Right.
So that money wouldn't exist otherwise anyway, right? I mean, I don't know. It kind of. Do you think? I mean, we might be being unfair here, but do you think that Here's a question for you: do you think that women have more pressure to look good than men?
I from my own standpoint, I think you put yourself under pressure rather than being put under pressure. I I agreed that size zero models needed to go because they weren't attractive and they promoted a bad lifestyle. But I
Yeah,
think
that's equally as unhealthy, isn't
that's
it?
what I was
That's
going to
equally.
say. It's on par with promoting plus size models. Um, and I'm not this is we're getting into fairly dangerous territory here because of how people feel. But
Yeah, fuck it.
no, but I'm not. That's not going to deter me. I think I think people put themselves under pressure. If you can't look at through a magazine without feeling pressured, don't read the magazine. If it makes you feel a certain way, don't expose yourself to it.
Yeah, I think the issue that people have though is that they say they like to read Cosmo,
Right.
um, and they every page that you see in Cosmo has a flawless human being, and since the invention of photoshopping, that has been accelerated into someone that may not actually look very slim, but is
Yeah, but it's
portrayed as
it's
very slim.
it's yeah, that's it though, isn't it? It's a means to an end. It's advertising. So of course it's manipulated. It's the same as watching a Nike football advert and watching what they can do at the pros what they do in a pair of football boots and then you put in on the football boots and they don't work the same way. It's
What do you mean?
advertising. Well, you know what I mean. How can you
No, no.
or if you're watching a car advert and some guy's fucking rinsing it around a town. You watch these weird car adverts and they're reversing onto fucking building sites and doing all sorts of things that you would never do in the real world. It's advertising. Of course it's
But
embellishing.
isn't it strange that you have things that you made a good point that you have a car advert and someone in it and it's completely unrealistic in the way that it's portrayed.
Yeah.
But then you have, say, a protein advert with a fit woman on it, and it gets slammed because the woman is unrealistic.
But
The body that she has is unrealistic.
well, I mean, who's to say that it is unrealistic? You look at some people and their bodies are crazy. But that's
Mm,
you don't get those things unless it's through hard work. Why shouldn't it be
mm,
applauded? Because I tell you what,
mm.
it's fucking easy to be fat.
Yeah, true,
Why shouldn't these
true.
people be applauded and advertised? This is what you could look like if you put the fucking chocolate bar down and went for a run.
But the interesting thing is that we revere sportsmen and
Always
sportswomen,
have. We always have.
and yet we also, but there's a new tide sweeping across from the what the Americans called liberals, who say that who say that advertising um, uh, a supplemental such as protein with a woman that has a healthy body is fat shaming, and it's becoming almost a plague where because no one says that for the men. I must admit, or at least I haven't heard anyone say, men's health magazines.
Hmm.
No one says that, "Well, these are unrealistic goals."
Yeah, no one's looking at David Gandy and saying, Christ, someone used to censor him.
Yeah, exactly. And things like, I think, who was it? Someone asked Scarlett Johansson, I think it was Scarlett Johansson, do you think that women get pressured to look good as a superhero? As good as a superhero? Because, Scarlett Johansson's, she's smoking hot
Yeah, she's hot.
in the Avengers series, in the whatever series.
She's hot in real life.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there was Gal Gadot as well, who had a load of training. They have personal chefs.
Yeah.
They spend all their time in the gyms. So all of their life is controlled to look like that.
Yeah.
So they asked them, "Do you think that this is sending out a hugely unrealistic message to young girls. And interestingly, she said, yeah, but then you look at the guys and they've got 10 packs
Yeah.
and they've got, ridiculously huge shoulders.
They're shredded.
And
They're huge.
yeah, like, do you think that's healthy? And she's got a good point. And I'm glad that she raised that point, because it is unfair that guys are, and bearing in mind, like, when we were saying in our mental health podcast, I think it was number 4 or 3, and there's a lot of guys who commit suicide. There's a lot of depression amongst guys that sort of gets swept under the rug, and a lot of it, there are guys who are susceptible to such standards as well,
Yeah.
who who look in the mirror and they want to look like Chris Hemsworth, who's Thor, or they want to look like the guy that's what's his name? Anyway, like all those superheroes, like Hugh Jackman, who's absolutely shredded.
Yeah.
And then you look at him offset, and he's just a normal person.
Or Ryan Reynolds.
Or Ryan Reynolds, yeah. But then, I mean, Ryan Reynolds is a ridiculous human being.
Yeah.
I would marry that guy. He's hilarious. He's got an amazing body. He's a great guy.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're listening, Ryan, we're happy to share you.
We'll love you.
Yeah. Turn Mormon, have 2 husbands, never look back again.
Look, I think
not gay.
Going out, I think not gay. I think going out and pointing at a fat person and saying you're fat, you're shit, you don't deserve to live, that's obviously fucking wrong. And you should not do that.
Of course.
But I think advertising a goal or advertising something that you should look up to is not a bad thing.
No, of course.
I think everyone should be healthy.
I think well, how do you... So you're reading a magazine, you're on the train, going to one of your sites, and someone's left a GQ magazine next to you. You pick it up and you start reading, and you see well-being, and you see David Gandy getting out of a pool with his fucking 18-pack. How does that make you feel?
I don't like. I just think, yeah, cool. The fella's got fucking, he's got it. He's got it. The guy looks amazing.
These people look after themselves. I know that they have the ability to, but there's people out there who aren't rich, that look equally good. People, they just work hard. One of the things they want to do is be healthy. And to me, I just think it should be applauded. I don't think that they should be, it's being fat shamed and all this, that, and the other, and you're sending out a bad message and you're making my daughter want to eat celery and throw up. No, that's not the case. Who's advocating bulimia and anorexia? They're psychological disorders that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I think that kind of this wave of liberalism is dangerously putting people to say that it's not your fault, it is someone else's fault for everything. Things like there's a sad case of I'll show you why. There's a sad case of a guy in a university in California, I believe. He gets drunk with a girl separately. The girl and the guy get drunk separately. The girl then texts the guy and says, "Do you want to come over? Do you have condoms?" So if someone sends you that message, it is on, right? So the guy's like, "Yeah, I'll be over in a second." He goes to hers. They have sloppy sex. She wakes up and her friends convince her that she was raped. So she complains she informs, the university that she believes she was raped. They go through a whole proceedings, and the guy gets thrown out of university and charged as a rapist. Right. So this is where I think it's don't get me wrong, there are loads of predators who prey on girls, who slip them rohypnol and and with an aim to rape them. There is a rape culture in some, I suppose, among some guys who kind of want to feel powerful and rape
Yeah.
girls, which is obviously
Yeah.
disgusting. But at some point, like in this instance, I know a lot of instances are different, but in this instance, I am shocked that she got away with it. Given the amount of evidence that was stacking to show her that it was consensual, I am shocked that, and I think a lot of the time the university wants to act before they are accused of doing nothing because rape is such
a tender issue.
I mean, it's such a yeah, and it's such a violent thing for the girl or the guy, depending on who gets raped. And I think a lot of the times they want to act before it's too late, so they sort of react to it very violently. There was another case where, and this is the thing, right? This is where it gets really interesting. There was another case where, again, girl and a guy get drunk again in the States. They have sex. The guy wakes up, and anticipating that she might, call rape, he complains to the university and accuses her of raping him.
Right.
And he wins.
Wow.
Because obviously the university has set a standard, and they can't go get away from it. So he, but it's becoming ludicrous, isn't it? When you wake up after a bad night of sex or after drunk sex, and you have to be worried to think, is she gonna tell people that I raped her? Or is she gonna, like the MeToo movement, I think is a brilliant idea. I think people that are in position of power, who abuse their power to force girls and women to have sex with them, and men to have sex with them, like Harvey Weinstein and who's the guy that's House of Cards, the actor.
Anyway,
Kevin Spacey. I think those guys are clearly fucking predators, and they should have gone away a long time ago. But luckily they did now. But I think there's always a danger of that movement being hijacked for people who want attention and who want fame and fortune to use it to their advantage. Like we discussed religion in our last podcast. And I think it's exactly the same here, that people exploit a noble act, which is to bring justice to women and men who've been molested and sexually assaulted, and use it for their own benefit. And, I do sometimes think, obviously, every case is important to hear out. But it's like freedom of speech. Yes, you can say anything you want, but should you say anything you want? Like, personally, no, you shouldn't. Of course, you shouldn't say that. And just because you can say that black people are inhuman doesn't mean that you should say that.
Mm-hmm.
Because although you have the freedom of speech, people died for you to have that freedom of speech. So there needs to be a bit of conscience and self-control and you need to think about what it is you are saying and how you're saying it. There's no point in accusing people or calling people idiots or whatever, because just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it's the same with this, that yes, of course, like the thing with Aziz Ansari, of course you can say that you felt uncomfortable and you felt that you had to give him head, but you didn't have to. And a lot of the times I'm not sure whether it is the guy's fault for pushing the agenda or the girl's fault for not making her wishes clearer, to say that, no, I'm not going to fucking suck your cock. Get the fuck away from me. As a guy, you will always try. You'll always push the boundary. And I'm sure there are girls that also push the boundaries. I've had my cock grabbed without any fucking warning before by a
Yeah.
girl, but I didn't walk away thinking, oh, you know what, this is fucking rape, blah blah blah. I mean, look, I'm not saying there's no difference. There is a huge difference. A girl who is, say, take our friend Kiki, Chrissy, if she came up to me and, you know, started to touch me up, I would sort of just, and I didn't know her and I felt uncomfortable, I'd just push her away and be like, you know what, whatever. But I think it's different when a guy's being sleazy on a girl who is a foot taller, a foot wider, and much more powerful than
Yeah.
her. Obviously, there is that difference. But it doesn't mean that, sexual assault is not sexist. And I think people need to understand that also it is in your power sometimes, unless you're forced, obviously, but it is in your power to say no.
Yeah.
Like the whole extremism thing we were saying yesterday. You just because a cleric tells you to go and kill infidels doesn't mean that you have to go and kill infidels, right? I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Are you sort of, because as you said, it's a touchy subject, but I think people need to take more responsibility for themselves. Obviously, the guys need to take responsibility for not being dicks and not forcing women to have sex with them,
Yeah.
or touch girls up in the clubs and whatever. But it's getting ridiculous to a point that you can't flirt, right? Because flirting might be perceived as preying on women.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's a lot of noise nowadays. I think a lot of harmless behaviour just automatically gets misconstrued. Do you know what I mean? It's it's odd, really, because if you go back, 30 or 40 years, and I'm not saying it's right, but it's odd that you go back 30 or 40 years, and if you've got a male employee and a female employee, it was regular, it was okay for the male to give the woman a smack on the bum. Do you know what I mean? That's obviously that's inappropriate.
I was gonna say I don't know where you're going
Oh
with
no,
this,
but
but
I'm just talking about how things are changing. People don't. It's acknowledged that that's not okay anymore. But I mean, there has to be some sort of a line drawn. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what I think South Park parodied it, didn't they? In with like demonstrating a frat house, and you can hear
oh,
sort of
yeah,
males and females, and
the politically correct.
they're
Yeah,
like yeah, PC principle, and saying, "Oh no, I
yeah,
won't have intercourse until you sign this form," and are you verbally consenting for me to give you, cunnilingus and stuff like that? And it's almost getting to that point, and I don't know. It's just I do find it bizarre because there are going to be cases of rape, and that is horrible for anyone to go through, male or female. It's not something that I envy people going through. They have my full respect and my almost sympathy. But if you consent to it, or if you're unsure that you've consented to it, you probably shouldn't press rape charges, because it can ruin if the person's innocent. If they haven't raped you, if they thought it was consensual because you were leading them on, they shouldn't get punished for it. Surely, do you think?
yeah. And look, I mean, there's plenty of cases out there where girls and guys have accused other girls and guys of rape and made it
Yeah.
up, and these people have gone to jail, and they were there for a long time. Is a day in jail, I think, is a
And
long
it's not going
time.
to be an easy time. It's not an easy ride, is it? If you go in as a sex offender.
No, exactly. And also, but once you get out, um, even if you're released and you're exonerated of all
You're still on the
charges,
sex offender list.
you still got that stigma.
You're tainted, aren't you?
You still got that stigma. And but the girls or the guys that make all this shit up to get some attention or whatever, they don't have that stigma.
Yeah, and it reflects. It reflects on the people. Do you know what I mean? If there's someone who has legitimately been raped, and then there's someone who hasn't, and they're making it up. I mean, that is just offensive to the person who has been. Do you know what I mean? To
Absolutely,
make up all of
absolutely.
those emotions and to act like you've been through what they've been through, psychologically scarred, and to say that you've been through it when you haven't, it's that's offensive to real victims.
It is, and it completely devalues the the girls and guys who really have gone through sexual
Yeah,
assault and have complained about it. And people, rightly or wrongly, will always think twice before helping this person
yeah,
out, because they don't know whether this person is just seeking attention or has actually been sexually
yeah.
assaulted. I think, it's the same as I was talking to a guy today about the you remember there were riots in London in 2010,
Yeah.
11. And he was saying, there's social tension there, and I said, well, no, because it started off as a noble cause because a guy was shot by the police who was black. Not the police, the guy
Hmm.
was black. They said that he had a gun on him. It turns out that he might not have had a gun on him. So he was shot because of his skin color, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, but a lot of the guys that started looting, because these guys have protested, right, and they were angry that that the police are targeting them, and but then it spread like wildfire. A lot of people started stealing television and smashing shops in, and you think these people are not fighting for the cause, and the cause is therefore being completely devalued by these people. These people, the original protesters, wanted justice for someone that has died at the hands of potentially a racist act,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Whereas these guys who are going around smashing shops and looting and stealing from people's livelihood are there just to fuck up and fuck around and steal shit. And they But the annoying thing is that they get lumped in with the actual protesters and the actual people that have a cause to be angry. Um, there was there's a famous interview where I think one of the Sky News or the BBC News anchors is asking two girls, must have been around 15, 16 years of
hmm
age, why do you think this is all happening while this is all happening behind them? And they said, because the government is something like they're misusing tax, or the taxes are too high or whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, so what where do you girls work? And they said, oh, we don't. So it's like, well, so wait a second. So you're here. You're saying that you're here complaining about people being afraid or rebelling against high taxes or misusage of taxes when you yourself don't pay any tax. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can have a view on things that you don't have anything to
yeah,
do with, but when you take it to a physical, violent altercation, that's when you have to have something behind
yeah,
you, a message or a principle behind you, a moral principle
yeah,
behind you. I mean, yeah, it's a weird world that we live in at the moment. I mean, you've got Trump as a president, we've got Brexit on the way. Um, Obviously, you voted to leave. I know because you're from the southwest, but um, but it's interesting, right? When these, I think they call themselves the social justice warriors, come out and say that women are being mistreated and that women are being manipulated and they're being sexualized. I think who was it that said women are being sexualized? I think it was someone. I think it was Emma Watson said that women are being too
right,
sexualized in the media, and then she posted. Oh no, it was one of the girls from my Modern
right,
Family. She was giving an interview and she said, "Yes, I'm a feminist, and because I believe that women are being sexualized in the media." And then, if you scroll through her Instagram, you see that she posted a picture of her bending over with her friend with someone taking a picture of her ass
right.
in a bikini. I mean, for fuck's sake, if you're going to do that to yourself,
Yeah.
it's like, first of all, okay, if someone's being sexualized in the media, don't do that job. Don't, don't play a role that is sexualized in a film. Don't play a role that is sexualized in a TV
Yeah.
show. And people will say, oh, yeah, but how else can you make it? It's like, well, mate, if the system is fucked, then don't participate in the system.
Yeah.
They have a choice not to become, um, not to play a bimbo in a film or a TV
Yeah.
show. They have a choice to, look at people like Dame Judy Dench. I'm pretty sure she's not. Well, I don't know, to be honest with you, but I haven't seen an acting role with her where she was
No.
sexualized. Or, you know, for plenty of actors and actresses act in roles which are like, okay, Tom Hanks. How is Tom Hanks being sexualized? Okay, he's a man, fine. It's just, I just, I struggle sometimes because you've got this new generation of people who want to blame everyone but themselves. You're not fat, you're beautiful. You're not, it's like, but when you have white people campaigning on behalf of Black Lives Matter without really understanding what Black Lives Matter stands
Yeah.
for, it's frustrating because they go in and they want to feel self-righteous and they want to feel like they're doing something for the society,
Yeah.
even though really what they're doing is they're just masturbating to
Yeah.
themselves. I watched a video yesterday of a woman holding up a sign saying Black Lives Matter or something in New York, and I think she was arguing with a black guy about a young black kid who was saying, "Look, I am, there's yes, cops are killing us. Yes, there are white people that hate us, but there's also an intrinsic problem within our society, within the black culture." He said, and this is something I haven't checked the statistics, but he said, "I am 2,000% more likely to be shot by another black man than by police or another white person or any other race."
Right.
Now, it's kind of crazy when you hear a black person say that. It's the same with Samuel L. Jackson famously said, "Look, you know." I think they asked him on something like, "Do you support Black Lives Matter?" And he said, "Look, all lives should matter. It's not just Black lives
Yeah.
should matter." And then they said, "Oh yeah, but I'm not sure if it was Samuel L. Jackson or someone else, but he raised the point that, look, it all starts in the home. You don't have to be a gangbanger to go into if you're black, you don't have to go into gangs.
Hmm.
If you're white, you don't have to hate black
Yeah.
people. You know, you don't. I know you don't. You're very open to other cultures and races and whatever, but it all comes through your upbringing and your people that you have, people that help shaped your psychology from the very beginning, your parents
Yeah.
and your friends,
Yeah.
right? Um, I mean, it's crazy to think that people are now saying, it isn't your fault. It's the society fault. You know, you can't, if you see a guy with what looks like a guy with long hair, you can't say, "Oh, hey, dude," and not offend them.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's fucking stupid that you can't do that.
Yeah.
Um, and being compelled. I think in Canada they said that they're being compelled to now use certain pronouns for transgender people.
Ugh.
And mate, I get it. Some people are born in the wrong body. Psychologically, they are not a man or a woman, um, and I get that.
The
But
thing that I don't get is being offended when someone refers to you as sir or madam, and then saying, "Oh, I don't associate with a gender." I mean, I don't understand that. I'm tolerant. Do you know what I mean? I'm a tolerant guy. I'm open to anything, really, as far as individuality goes. But don't be offended at gender. I mean, you are a gender. You can't not be a gender, even if you choose it. Do you know what I mean? Why choose it? And I think it's dangerous. I think it's stupid to let people do this. I mean, it's to me, it's on par with, you know, not getting inoculated against diseases. Um, I just find the whole idea just ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that?
I kind of think, I think if you're if you're a transgender person, say you're a guy that's become a girl and you want to be called a girl,
Yeah,
fine. I'm going to refer to you as a she. I'm going to say she. I'm going to call you a girl. Blah blah blah. That's not an issue for me. The issue for me is when people do it to kids. That's what I'm really worried about. Is when 7-year-olds are given hormones without really having worked out what they are, where they are, what they're doing. You can't be sure as an 8-year old of what your sexual orientation is going to be, of what you think your gender is or will be. Um, and I think, I don't know, I kind of, as you said, I don't really care what you do to your body. I really don't. Um, what I do care about is having to be thrown overboard if I refuse to. Surely it's my right to refuse to. If I don't believe in something, I could I could say that I don't believe it, but I'll be branded a bigot as a result. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of it's it's a shame because th- this was never an issue, and although they were persecuted, and I get it, um, they were persecuted for a long time. Homosexuality, um, transsexualism was persecuted for a long, long time. But I think we're bending the stick completely to the other way. We're overcorrecting to the point that if you refer to a man who transitioned into a woman as a he, then it's a hate crime. You know, it's kind of like if someone calls me white, I'm not gonna stand there and say that they're committing a hate crime because I'm not white and they called me white and they keep referring me to being white. It's like, mate, I don't really care. I'm comfortable in my body. But then you have people like Caitlyn Jenner who come out as transgender and then say that they are against homosexual marriages because they're traditionalists. I mean, what the fuck? Caitlyn, 20 years ago, you were one of the biggest athletes in the world. You had two daughters, I think, and you didn't carry them, which makes you, I mean, biologically, you're a man, right? And you then choose to transition into a woman, and then you're saying you're against homosexual marriages.
yeah. It's crazy. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's so two faced of those people as well. Um, you know,
What do you mean, those people?
well, to people who undergo changes or don't associate with a gender, to then criticize other people. Like Caitlyn Jenner, who used to be a man, um, um, then criticizing and advocating against something that you would have thought they would have got behind because they would associate with it.
The thing that really pissed me off is when they gave her the Woman of the Year
I
award.
know, what the fuck is that about?
and when they gave her the Sports Person of the Year award, the motherfucker hasn't played sports of any kind for the last 20
Yeah.
years. I'm pretty sure there are more deserving women in the world to get that award.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you brought transgender to the mainstream. I get it. But then you go and kill a woman. Let's not forget, she killed a woman.
Yeah.
She pushed a woman into traffic with her car, who then died. And that never got anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, how can you revere this person? If you want to take a transsexual that lived through very hard times and has her own story to tell or his own story to tell, and has a lot of lessons to teach the society, fair enough. But Caitlyn fucking Jenner, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that transgender people will look at her and say, she's not my fucking spokesperson.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. All these people are saying, we. Well, no. You don't speak for everyone. You're not an elected representative of the whole transgender community.
I don't speak for all heterosexual white people.
And neither should you, right? It's like, you're upsetting us. Well, you're not upsetting me.
Yeah.
So why the fuck are you? But then you see what the argument there is, that they'll turn around and say, yeah, but you're part of the system, man.
Yeah.
You're corrupted, man.
Yeah.
And it's
You're the
like,
man.
are you fucking? It's like when I was in a Chinese restaurant, right? And I asked for a fork once, and they looked at me like I said, "Can I finger your asshole, please?" Like, it's that look of disgust that's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, mate? And and don't get me wrong, racism isn't only a white issue. It's an issue all over the world.
Oh, well, so you're saying that
Other races-
because you have some Asian looks, they looked at you funny. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they were like, you what, mate? You want a fork? What are you?
Yeah.
And I was like,
What sort of
mate,
Asian are you?
get the fuck away from me. I do whatever the fuck I want, mate. Like, just because I don't want to eat with two sticks doesn't make me a fucking weirdo,
Yeah. Doesn't make me a bad Asian.
No. I mean, look, it's, racism is. Have you experienced racism as a white man?
Yes. Yeah. When I was a kid, I experienced it. Yeah, we, me and my cousin, we used to get picked on and beaten up and stuff for being the white boy. We used to get called the Milky Bar Kid and white boy and stuff like that, chased out of parks and stuff on the estate. Yeah.
That's crazy though, right?
It's mental.
That is
it's mental.
Crazy.
But to me, it made me think, well, I know how it made me feel, and I would never want to make someone else feel like that. And I don't think that you should judge someone for their colour. I think it's the most fucking stupid thing you can ever do. Oh,
mate, tell me
you're black, so I don't like you. What? Sorry, why does that make sense? Oh, you're Asian, so you're not cool.
It's the whole thing of, I have a certain. I mean, look, if we believe in the history, in the theory of evolution, we all came from Africa.
Yeah.
Right? We all originated from Africa, and then we spread over thousands of years to other regions of the world, and we adapted certain characteristics, physical characteristics, that helped us survive in certain conditions.
Yeah.
So the whole point of race is fucking retarded.
Yeah, of course it is.
Can I say that? Can I say retarded?
I think you can. So what, mate?
Yeah, exactly. Freedom of speech, mate. But you know what I mean? It's like it's this whole thing of, it's like nationalists. Oh, I was born in England, and therefore England's for the English.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, tell it to the Romans.
Yeah. And
tell it to the Vikings that fucking took most of your beautiful women and now have better wives. I'm joking, UK. I'm joking. But seriously though, you can't have, just because you were lucky enough to be born in England, out of complete coincidence, doesn't make, and it's like, oh, this is my country. No, it isn't, mate.
Yeah.
No,
I can't say that because I've only got to go back one generation to find German in my family.
Well, I'm pretty sure most most English people have a mix of
Of
origins.
course they do. I mean, there's very few. Actually, I don't think there's anyone that's 100% quote unquote English, because we had the French come over. The Normans, they came and invaded us, and the Anglo Saxons. They oh, it's a mishmash. Let alone if you think Scottish, Irish, Welsh. Um, you know, it's just ridiculous to say you are just one nationality. No, it's never going to happen. No one's I suppose what you would call a thoroughbred. Do you know what I mean? No one's 100% English all the way through.
But also, how do you prove it,
Well, yeah,
right?
exactly. But what's the fucking difference?
Well, yeah, but to those people that are like, oh, I'm British, and it's like, okay, but what makes you more British than me?
Yeah,
Oh, I was born here. Okay, so not Mo Salah, Mo Farah wasn't born here,
yeah.
but I'm pretty sure he did fucking more for the country than you did.
Well, the fucker's
So
been
is he
knighted, so
British?
he's more English than we are.
Exactly. So is he British? Is he more British than you are, or he isn't because he's black?
Yeah, yeah,
Or what about um, half of the bloody English cricket team?
yeah,
What about half of the English team? What about who are not white?
yeah.
It's kind of like, so wait a second. So these guys go out onto the field, represent the country, get to the semi-finals,
Quarterfinals.
and you're saying, was it quarterfinals?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was semi-finals.
Oh, it was the semis. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And you're telling me that you're more British than they are
Yeah,
because they're black?
yeah,
How stupid can you be? Like, obviously, people will say that I can't be um, objective when it comes to racism because I'm not white. It's like, well, actually, no, I can be because I've seen Asian people being racist towards other races.
yeah,
I've seen black people being racist to other races. I've seen, you know, Kazakhs, Russians, Indians, Pakistani, Mexicans. I've seen everyone being racist to someone else
yeah,
other than their race.
yeah,
Racism is not a white issue. Racism is an issue in general.
yeah. Of course it is. I think, I think if you think otherwise, then you're just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but people do, and this is the issue. This is the really dangerous issue, is that people think that these social justice warriors come out of the woodwork, and they say that you know our system is, the white privilege is a thing. There's Asian privilege. You want to talk about Asian privilege? How about Harvard deliberately making it difficult for Asians to get into Harvard? That is systematic racism.
Yeah,
Why don't you fight about that instead of what you believe or what you perceive to be racist? This is actual facts.
yeah,
Harvard was caught being racist towards Asians by denying them places in Harvard because they're too successful. What kind of a fucking metric is that? What kind of a reason is that to deny people
first rate
education?
education. Yeah.
Like, that's retarded.
There it is again.
Oh, um, but look, I mean, for all the bad in the world, there's also a lot of good.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of cool heads that prevail. I think this current liberalism, social justice, whatever you want to call it, I think it is a fad that will go away like everything else. I just hope that it doesn't cause too much damage before it does.
yeah. Well, I think hopefully sense will prevail. Um, you know, something's got to change, and I think people have just got to be brave and stick to their guns. Um, you know, uh,
Yeah, but these people get absolutely berated though, and they get fired by these companies who are worried about their consumers' numbers falling.
well,
Have
maybe
you heard
they need
about
more
this?
legal protection. Then maybe they, maybe those
Yeah,
people are the ones that should have their views heard.
Have you heard about this guy from Google? He's a programmer, and I think there was an anonymous questionnaire or sent around asking how Google can incentivize female programmers or more females to take on programming, because obviously programming is quite a male-dominated arena, and rightfully, Google wants to give everyone an equal opportunity to
Yeah,
get into programming. And a programmer wrote a letter to Google saying that, look, maybe actually it's not just about incentivization, but maybe they just don't want to do it,
yeah.
and maybe they're just not suited for it. Um, and he got fired
It's just ridiculous.
because they said it was hate speech.
It's knee jerk. It's just knee jerk reaction, isn't it?
But these people believe it. That's the thing. It's not just someone from the top to making a decision. People actually believe that he was spreading hate by saying that women, majority of women, don't want to become programmers. They choose not to become programmers. How
Yeah.
many female coders do you know?
I don't know any.
Right, I know maybe one or two out of the 10 or 15 of my friends and acquaintances that are in tech. Is that because they have barriers to entry? No, no, it's not. They're just not interested in it.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of female friends who are doctors, and females dominate that arena. They dominate the medical arena.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of friends who are in arts and fashion, and they dominate that arena.
Yeah.
Why is no one normalizing that? Why is no one saying, you know what, we should have equal number of men to equal number of women work there?
I just think people need to just come to terms with the fact that some things are more attractive to one sex than the other.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, if you, I think it's biologically proven because there's a certain hormone that people have, that men have more than women, that makes them take risks more.
Yeah.
So they'll take on more riskier jobs, and these jobs reward
Yeah.
higher than non-riskier jobs.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that as in women should get in the kitchen and just be happy.
No, no one
Or
is saying that. No one is saying
get
that.
the marigolds on. No, but that's how things get perceived, isn't it? Because I can just imagine some keyboard warrior hearing that and thinking, "Oh well, Tom and Dimitri just think that women should wear pennies and get on with it, whilst men are professional motocross riders." That's not
No,
what we're saying at all. It doesn't
no,
just because it doesn't appeal to the uh, general population of men or women, dependent on the occupation, doesn't mean that it's not going to be of interest to some of them.
no. And and I know exactly what you mean by being perceived as sexist. I, do I believe in equality of opportunity? Of course, I do. I think that anyone, disabled, race, whether it's disability, race, or sex, it doesn't matter. You should all get a shot at a certain job. But then you have evidence data which shows that some people prefer certain careers over others based on their race, based on their gender, based on their ability or disability. You wouldn't expect a guy in a wheelchair who has, I don't know, who has a certain physical disability to become a bricklayer.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure they might not want to. But should we make them because that would make it more equal? I'm not sure that's the answer.
yeah,
I'm not sure paying men and women the same amount unless they do the same job and they produce the same output is a thing. I think if you do exactly the same job and your results for the company are exactly the same. So Ben makes 100 million for the company, Jenny makes 100 million for the company. They're the same. They're both directors in the same law firm. They should be paid equally. Absolutely. And if
Yeah.
they're not paid equally, that's fucking stupid. Because why the hell not? They both produce exactly the same results from exactly the same positions. But if Ben is producing 100 million and Jenny's producing 25 million, and they're both the same position, why should Ben be paid the same amount as Jenny?
Yeah.
I think we touched upon this earlier, didn't we, in our earlier podcasts?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
This equality of outcome is stupid. Equality of opportunity, yes, absolutely. And that's what's missing from a lot of industries where there's a lot of barriers, there's a lot of there's not a lot of incentivization. Absolutely, by all means, advertise it, promote these construction, engineering, um, uh, you know, all these things within the female communities. But if they choose not to participate in those fields, why make them do it?
Yeah.
You know,
I
actually,
agree.
I'm going to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen so many female engineers as I have in Greece.
Mm.
And I read an interesting article, I think in the Telegraph or the Guardian, that pointed out that actually the lower the average income of a country, the higher the probability that women choose um, to be in higher paid jobs. So traditionally, that would be law, banking, engineering. So is it the fact that we're too comfortable in the West that these, that that women don't want to, that they feel like they don't have to provide for their family, and therefore they don't have to earn as much money, and therefore they can choose less lucrative jobs?
Mm. Who's to
Possibly,
say?
possibly. But this whole thing of, Jordan Peterson, and I've read the study where they had, if you look at the Scandinavian countries, I think Sweden, they take the case of Sweden, where it's as egalitarian as it gets on Earth, and women still choose to have jobs which are traditionally for women, and men choose to have jobs which are traditionally for men. So if you leave people to their own devices and you give them completely equal opportunities, they will still separate them into their own groups.
Yeah. What
So
can you say? What can you say?
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, you're in an industry which is male dominated, right?
Yeah. Um. Well, I mean, I think we've spoken about this, and we've talked about this before. Um. So I feel like we're kind of rehashing it a bit.
Well,
But
no, we talked about the difference between wages, but
no, but we talked about women in my occupation, so building, and there are some women in it, and I did, on my electrician's course, there were one or two women on it, but it's what I said earlier. Some things just don't appeal to certain genders. I mean, there are going to be discrepancies. It's not a cut and dry subject, but ultimately, look, does fashion interest me? No. Does you know building interest me? Yes. So that makes me a stereotype of a man. Um, do you know what I mean? Am I ashamed that it's a stereotype? No, I find it normal. Um, what can you do about it? I mean, the facts are there. It's an easy thing to look up. You can easily go and look at the statistics of what gender is in what occupation, and you can very easily disparage whether or not it's sexist based or gender. Is there gender bias in it? There could be, but is there a reason for it? Do you know what I mean? Not everything is just black and white, and people always want to segregate and they want to compartmentalize everything and put a label on everything. And some things just they just can't be labelled or they can't be discriminated against, and people just need to stop fucking trying to find something to fight for every 5 seconds.
But I think a lot of the times, the reason why people like to compartmentalize and make things easy is because it's easier to understand, right? You either are or you aren't. You either are, you're either for female equality or you're against it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not actually that easy, because female equality of what? Opportunity? Yeah, of course. But I don't know. I mean, does it doesn't necessarily mean that you think that women should be punched in the face if they punch someone in the face? No, I don't think they should. Do you see what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, if we're gonna equalize everything, then let's equalize everything.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, people will suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if we start doing things, if we don't give special attention to certain members of society or different kind of attention or treat them differently, then it will be a fucking hard life for everyone, because the strongest will win and there'll be no cooperation in society.
Yeah.
And then what? You think you deserve to earn as much as I do? Fine. Then you got to work from 8 till 12 every day. You got to ignore your family because although it's difficult, you have to provide for them. Oh, shit. You got pregnant? Well, fuck it, abort it then. You know, it's like, it becomes I mean, okay, that might have been a bit difficult because people say that there shouldn't be any difference between a woman going on maternity leave and coming back and not being in the same position. Well, times move on, businesses move on. They can't just sit still whilst you take care of a baby, which you should, and it's in your right to. Of course you should. But you can't expect the world to sit still and wait for you to catch up with it. What if you take 5 years off? Should you still come back and earn as much as the next guy? I don't know. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think we'll work it out here. I think there's a way bigger. I think it's much bigger than any of us. I'm just venting my shit, you know. But nah, I'm done.
I think we've covered everything we need to.
We started off so well as well about health, about exercising. I'm actually about to go to the gym myself, so.
Wow. Not anymore, you're not.
Well, I am, so.
Just eat a chocolate bar, mate.
That's fat shaming, so.
You are fat, though.
That's fat shaming, and I don't appreciate it.
You should be ashamed that you're fat.
Oh dear. I will complain to a group of people, and they will picket you.
I will give you 10p, and you can ring someone who gives a shit.
Oh, exactly, mate. Absolutely right.
Well, on that note,
yes,
on that
yeah.
bombshell, as we've started to say for some reason.
No, we didn't. I just tried it. I didn't like it.
Didn't work.
Do you wanna tell our beautiful listeners where they could reach us?
So, well, first of all, I want to congratulate you on making it this far into the podcast. You've done very well at 1 hour, 29 minutes and 35 seconds now. Well done. Kudos. You can reach us at yarnspinnerspodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @yarnspinners1, on Facebook @yarnspinners1, and of course comment on the video on YouTube. So get in touch, get involved, say fucking something.
Yeah, and by the way, do check out our channel Yarn Spinners, where we have all of our stuff. We might do a live session soon.
if you don't shout into the mic like that.
Well, first you tell me to come closer. Now you're telling me that I'm too close. You're like a woman.
Well, it's too close when the mic. Whoa! I can hear the keyboards rattling.
Don't care. So, anyway, I'm not going to play us out. I'm just going to end the podcast there without the outro song.
Do it.
But
all right.
Cheers and peace.
Change the norm. Break it up. Peace.